You're listening to Don't Take This Personally,
a podcast about the business of creativity.
We are your hosts, wedding photographers, entrepreneurs, and friends, Cami Oliveria
And Gabe Conover. Now let's get into it.
Let's get into it. And don't take it personally, whatever we're about to say.
Yes.
Don't. Do not take this personally. Ooh, do you hear that?
Ooh.
Did you hear that? Did you like it? We're real.
Did you like it?
Did you like it? We are real podcasters now.
It's official.
We've got a song and everything. You're stuck with me for a while.
And we sound really cool.
We sound so cool.
I bet people are in your car like, what are you listening to? They sound so cool.
They sound so funky and cool.
Unless you're alone, then maybe the bugs in your car are saying that.
For sure. For sure. No doubt about that. So today we have a topic that it was asked by a listener that we kind of touch on. And this might be another episode where I say what I'm doing and Gabe tells me how to run my business better.
For the record, Cami she's better at telling me when I'm teaching her things. She teaches me things all the time.
Oh,
yes.
Do I?
Yes.
Tell me
Even
one.
today.
Tell me one right now.
I loved how you revamped all your packages. It was brilliant.
Oh my gosh, cool.
And now I'm going to do it.
Perfect.
And we're not going to tell you what it is because you can't take our ideas. Just kidding.
Maybe we'll do an episode about that where we talk about updates to our business. This year. I don't know.
Good idea.
Okay.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Here we are.
Yes.
So has this been enough build up? What are we talking about? Today we are talking about doing business with your friends and family. So, yeah. That's what we're talking about. How to do it? Should we do it?
All good questions.
All wonderful questions. And this question came out of, was it the travel episode maybe? Where I just talked about my struggles with charging friends appropriately. And Gabe said, oh, you got to get over that. And then a listener texted us asking us to elaborate because same, I think. She was saying same. So
yeah. I mean, first off, I think it's good to say that like this last year, I have a lot of rules when it comes to this, but I broke my rules when it came to all of this because, this last year has been a struggle and I was more desperate to book work. So I did break more of my rules than I would like to.
That's fine.
And that's totally fine.
So let's talk about that. In the best of times, what are your rules? So I don't mean, when we say doing business with friends and family, we don't mean like joining partners with them or something. Like how Gabe and I are doing business together by doing this podcast. Correct. We don't mean that.
Right.
We mean like if you're in the wedding industry or something, doing work for your friends, so like shooting your friend's wedding, right. Something like that.
And this is something that I think our industry specifically deals with a lot because people don't consider it a real job. And they know that we love it so much, so they like, oh, well, it's your hobby, like just do a shoot for us, you know? So, I mean, I have been a countless amount of times I've had people try to ask me for either free work or discounted work. And I mean, yes, most of the time it's friends and family, but sometimes it's just random people. And then I'm like, what?
You'll be paid in exposure, Gabe. But
what
if they have a lot of followers?
Okay.
So in the best of times, what are your rules? What are your boundaries with discounts and doing things for friends and family?
I decide if I'm going to gift someone something. I've made it fairly clear to my friends and family that it's really not appropriate to ask me for something like that.
How?
Mostly by explaining just the reality of the situation. So I was telling Cami, let's say someone asked Cami to shoot their wedding for free or something like that. Or let's say Cami felt obligated to shoot one of her friends' weddings for free. I said, okay, so even though you outsource your work, how much work are you how many hours are you putting into shooting that day, editing that day, communication in the front end. And she came up with like 20 hours total. So then I was like, okay,
it's probably more than that, but it's hard to guess. But
let's just say 20 hours.
20 for the sake of math.
Yeah, for the sake of math. And it could be more than that. So this is even with it being on the low end. So let's say that your hairstylist friend says, hey, shoot my wedding for free. So I was like, Cami, how much do you spend on a haircut? What was it?
I don't know, because it's all lumped with my color and stuff. That's a complicated question.
Let's say $60. Okay. And then I was like, how long does it take you to get a haircut? Probably $30, right? So
30 minutes.
30. It takes you $30.
Yeah, it takes me $30
to get your haircut. Okay, so per hour of work you're doing, you pay them like $120. So if you're putting 20 hours of work in, would you ever ask your hairstylist to give you 40 free haircuts? 40.
I would never ask that.
40 free haircuts is the equivalent of the amount of time that you spend on editing their wedding.
Yeah, I would never do that. I would never feel appropriate being like, will you just give me my next 40 haircuts for free?
Yeah. Or can you give me and my 40 friends free haircuts?
Whoa. For some reason, that feels bigger.
Yep.
Can you give me and my 40 friends free haircuts this week?
Yep.
And not make any other money this week.
Yeah.
Just me and my 40 friends' haircuts. Well,
for free.
This is getting really funny.
So you have to put it in that perspective, because I think people are just so easily ask us for free work. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, okay, well, would you do your job for free? Would you do 20 hours of work for anyone for free? And the amount of times that I've done something like this, it's always been off of my own decision based on. And it's always very situational. Like I told Cami, for example, I gifted some of my friends an engagement shoot as their wedding present like 2 years ago. And they were extremely thankful. They did not have any expectation of me presenting them with that. But it was something I wanted to do for them. And I was like, but I'm not shooting your wedding. So, because I wanted to attend it, because they are good friends of mine. So it came at them with like them literally not expecting anything from me. So it was way more worth it and way more beneficial, because I could feel the appreciation from them. Mm-hmm. I could feel that they like weren't taking me for granted. They would never ask me to do something like that. So yeah. Wow. But I would never go up to anyone and be like, hey, can you do 20 hours of whatever your job is for me for free?
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So why does it feel so different for us?
I really don't know.
It's so fascinating.
I think that it's because people don't take our job very seriously. I think that people don't look at it as a real job. I think more and more now they are slowly starting to see it more as a real job. Mm-hmm. But especially before, I don't think that people thought that way at all. And especially when you're first starting out, I also think that they really don't see it as a real job.
Yes.
Because they're like, well, we'll like help you with your business. No, you'll help me with my business by paying me. Like, come on. That's what's actually supporting a small business. Supporting a small business is not just like getting like, you know, using their products for free but for exposure. Like, that's not supportive at all.
No, it's not.
That's manipulative.
Yeah,
and taking advantage of them.
Exposure is never really effective, because people are being sold to on social media all the time now. It's like, yeah, wow, this is really interesting. I am really bad at this. Yeah.
We talked about it all morning.
Yeah, I am not fantastic at having boundaries around this, and I'm not really sure why it started or why it continues. For some reason, it's really hard for me to charge my friends, even though I fully insist on paying them for things.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know what is going on with me mentally, that this has been such a struggle with my business from the very beginning. But like, it might come down to the fact that I don't enjoy being a guest at weddings that much. I don't find it that fun. Maybe I just haven't been to the right ones, or maybe I've just been working through the only fun ones. I don't know. But I don't know. I kind of like having a job when I go to a wedding. And if it's a wedding I'm already going to be at, like if I know for a fact I'm going to be invited anyways, I would kind of rather be working it. I don't know. It's hard.
And I do not feel that way.
You know what, though? Oh my gosh, now we're about to enter interesting territory. It might be more about like the validation I get knowing that they like wanted me to do it. Like if they pick someone else to do it.
Yeah, but did they want you to do it? Or did they just want you because you did it for free?
It comes up when they're like, it has to be you, but we don't know if we can afford you. And I'm like, okay, then I'll just do it.
Oh, Tammy.
I know.
Not even like, well, how much can you afford?
Sometimes if they're like one of my best friends or really close friends, it's more of just kind of like, okay, I'll just do it and we'll work out the mathematics later, you know. But then maybe for some like other kind of friends, I've been like, whatever you can afford, like what do you have left over for the, you know? I don't know.
But then you see what happens is people budget for not having to pay.
I know. I'm getting hot talking about it because I realize it's not been a great system.
Yeah.
Because of course they don't have money. Like I'm like, whatever you have left over at the end, but they're not going to have anything left over at the end because I told them they didn't have to. Why would they? So
they would budget knowing that they're getting pretty much a free photographer. So that's an interesting thing to think about. So I was kind of explaining too that I think that people obviously need to live within their means, and I'm a good example of this. Like when my wife and I got married, we were 18 years old. We didn't pay for our wedding, but our parents gave us a very, very, very small budget. And so because of that and the things that were important to us, we made a lot of sacrifices, which I think a lot of people just need to understand that they need to do. So like we spent literally $300 on our venue, which was a public park.
Amazing.
And we invested in the things that were important to us. So we spent the most money on our photographer. And that's because that was what was important to us. And the rest of it was not exactly what we would have wanted our wedding to be, but that's okay because we lived within what we were given, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that you are, when you're telling your friends that you'll work out the mathematics later even, then they're automatically just going to be like, oh, well, when the time comes, we'll give her whatever we're comfortable giving her, which could practically be nothing.
And it usually
is. Because then they're budgeting.
But like, what if you know it's gonna be really cool?
I mean, reality too is that like every decision you make is a business decision. So if you think that it's going to benefit you in some way, it's like we talked about in that Guatemala wedding, how you were like, it's going to benefit me. Like I need to do this wedding, and it has benefited you. Then of course there are different types of sacrifices that can be made because in our occupation, like time is our money.
Yeah, it's like our only resource. Really.
Right. So if you're willing to invest that type of time and you think it'll pay you back, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But if it's not going to do that, and if you're also gonna like, I mean, personally, I feel like I'm missing my friends' weddings when I'm shooting them because I feel I'm really focused on making sure that I'm doing a really good job. But I want to be present when my friends are getting married. So.
Wow. This is so interesting. Because this is just something I'm so bad at. I don't know why it's so uncomfortable to just be like, this is what it costs. But I think it comes down to my own imposter syndrome with even having a lot of imposter syndrome issues around like how much I'm charging and how much I'm booking and stuff. It's just, man, I do like every year leaving room in my schedule for like a few, maybe 1 to 2 weddings that aren't like money makers maybe, but maybe they're like such good friends of mine that I know I'll be there and it's an amazing location and it will be creatively fulfilling. And since they're my friends, I feel like I have the freedom to kind of like do whatever I want with them and have a lot of control. So I do like leaving room in my bookings for a few of those a year, but I think where I go wrong is I don't like cut that off. Like then every year I end up maybe doing 3 to 4 weddings like for free-ish. For free-ish.
Interesting.
And that's not great business practice.
Unless it's paying you forward, which it could be.
But not always. Not usually.
Not usually.
Not usually. It's just really hard. So like, what are like good realistic boundaries we can set around this? Like before we go into that, I used to say, if I know for certain I would be invited anyways, like for certain, you know those people that you're like, we're such tight homies, I'm obviously going to be at your wedding, then that's something where I'm willing to be like, okay, for whatever you can afford. But it's the friends or acquaintances that I'm like, I don't know if I'd be invited. Like if you have to wonder, then that is probably not a good reason to give a discount, because then if it's that kind of friend that you have to wonder, like, would I even be invited? Then I would start to feel taken advantage of if all of a sudden, oh, we're old friends. Of course I'll shoot your wedding for cheap. So that is a boundary I've set. So when I have had those, so I am proud of that. Like when I've had these friends from my past or high school friends or college friends or whatever, and I really don't think I would have been invited to their wedding otherwise. Yeah. That is when I'm like, yo, this is what I charge, and it is what it is.
Which is good. So that I think is cool. I'm not anti giving discounts. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm anti allowing people to expect that you're going to give them a discount. And that is something that I've dealt with personally, where I feel like people, maybe I have given a discount in the past, or I have had a certain rate in the past, and then they just assume that that's what it's always going to be.
Like they expect it forever.
Correct. And that's not how things work, especially when you're growing a business.
Yeah.
So,
or like doing stuff for free in the beginning with your friends and stuff, that's one thing. Doing things for free now is another thing.
Right. Exactly.
I see.
So I honestly, I've made it very clear to my friends and stuff like that and my family that I just really do not have the time to constantly be giving everyone all of these discounted or free shoots, because if one person gets it, I'm sorry, I've got a lot of friends that are at the same level as you, and that means that they're all going to expect it. And do you really think I have that kind of time?
A lot of friends at the same level. I don't know why that was so funny to me.
Well, like friends that are like, that we're good friends, that would, technically fit into that same category. Yeah. So I think that it makes it easier and easier for people to take advantage of you. I feel like even over the last year, I've really noticed this, because I've hired a few like different friends and stuff, that people I would consider friends, to do different work for me when it comes to my new studio and stuff like that. I have not once asked for a discount. And it really, like, it wasn't even a question. Yeah. I would not even consider asking for a discount just because we were friends.
Well, what's so weird is I wouldn't when I ask people. So I don't know why when it's the other way around, I feel that like obligation of, that fear of letting them down, and also like kind of being addicted to the validation of like, it's going to really be upsetting to me if you pick someone else. Yeah. So I would, for my own ego, I would rather just do this for you. But my poor husband, I don't think we've ever been a guest together at a wedding.
That's so sad.
Yeah. So maybe that's why,
weddings are fun.
Maybe that's why I don't think they're fun, because I've never done it like as an adult.
Yeah. That's probably true.
With my partner and let loose, you know?
Yeah, you got to do
Cammie
that.
Cammie is a party monster. So maybe she would love weddings if we let her out.
I literally shoot them every weekend.
I know. That's so funny. But it's almost like I don't even know how to experience them anymore. Like not doing that.
Interesting. So one thing I did want to say is that I think that it's easy for us to just be bitter when people come across like they're taking advantage of us. But I think that something that we need to remember, and I always try my best to assume positive intentions. I try my best. I'm not saying I always do that, but I try. And I feel like when I'm like, a good example of this is when I'm interacting with clients that maybe have a lower budget than what that technically I charge. And then it's not like I just like brush them off. I like thoroughly explain to them that there's a reason I charge what I charge. It takes this amount of hours.
And we've talked in past episodes.
Right.
We have both successfully, once they understood, gotten them to raise their budget by like a lot.
Yeah.
So
and why you have to also give your friends and family that type of education too, because they don't know.
Interesting. They don't know. They think, oh, you're going to be there anyway, so why don't you just
It's hardly any more work. You just have to slap a preset on, right?
The thing that annoys me more than people asking me to shoot their weddings, because that doesn't annoy me, it's the validation I'm addicted to. What annoys me is can you just come into my shower too and bring your camera? To me, that's when it's like, okay, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm either on or I'm off.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I'm not just going to kind of bring my camera and kind of shoot some stuff.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
I am either Cammie the photographer or I'm Cammie the party monster that day, you know?
Yes, correct. So I take it upon myself to explain, like, hey, what do you do for a living? Would you do this? Because this is the amount of work that I'm going to spend on your wedding if I do it. So would you
say
do
this? You say
I
this?
have said this to people, yeah.
Ooh.
I said, would you do that for me? You know, like, would you, and this is, I haven't had to say this very often, but it's like when people have expected that I would just give them a major discount because we're acquaintances. It honestly has never been my friends. It's been my acquaintances. And like, I just kind of like, if I present the idea of giving you a discount, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But if you are like asking for it, and normally it's like in a very manipulative way, that's when I'm totally like, in my mind, I'll just be like, no.
I love that. I love that.
Because I just refuse to be taken advantage of. That is an
interesting point. I very rarely do it when it's presented to me, but usually I offer before they can ask.
Got it.
Like, if it's a friend that is so close, I know we'd be invited, that's when I'm like, oh my God, and if you wanted me to shoot it, like, I would totally just, like, do it for you, you know? And maybe I need to start shutting that down a little bit. Mm-hmm. What would make you want to give a discount? Like you said, if it's your idea, when is it your idea?
It's my idea when I don't really like saying this, but it's really easy for me to give discounts when I know that the people that I'm going to give them to are going to be extremely appreciative and would never ask me for it.
Oh, I don't think that's a bad thing to say at all. Like when people, you know, they appreciate it and get it and care.
And they'll pay it forward in a way.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah.
So that's the number one thing. Or like if like I feel like they have blessed me in past, like with different things. Those are the times when I'm just like, this is the type of person that deserves it because they are so giving. I
love that.
But you know, then there's the people that just expect it, and that's where I draw the line.
Yeah, I've thought this before, but I've never really been able to articulate it till you said it. That it's like, when someone asks you to do it, would you do your job for free? Yeah. Like, thinking that is really interesting and kind of puts it into perspective for me, which I think is going to be a helpful frame of mind to get myself in when I start to try to make these kinds of decisions and stuff. But yeah, it's just so hard. The obligation is real.
It is.
And the way I think of it too sometimes, you can tell me if you think this is legit or not, but since dates are like our only commodity as photographers, if we're going to a wedding as a guest, it's actually kind of a huge sacrifice.
It is a huge sacrifice.
Because we are actively saying no to work if we're blocking off a weekend or something.
Yes. Yes.
So
absolutely.
I think part of me is like, well, this is what I do. I would rather just shoot the thing because I'm going to have to not make money that weekend anyways. And hopefully get more work from it later. Like because it feels like such a sacrifice to take a weekend off and lose.
I completely agree.
So I think that's too where it comes from too. Like, okay, if I'm going to not make money this weekend anyways and I'm saying no to this, like I might as well just do it for the people I love and then like maybe get some cool work out of it.
Right. Which I understand.
And I do genuinely have so much fun when I shoot for friends. So it's like if I'm not going to make money anyways, man, it's so hard.
I'm not saying it's bad.
No, that's why this is complicated because it's...
But it should be completely up to us when we decide to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Mm-hmm. Wow. Bottom line is it's your business, so it doesn't matter. Like, do what feels right to you. But, like, in a year, would you do this 1 time? Would you do this 3 times? Would you do it 5 times?
Right.
Like, do you mentally have, like, a limit of, like, how many... favor type weddings you would give yourself?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I mean, I'm very much like a situational person, so it would just depend. I mean, I would take every situation as it comes. And recently, my friends have all been getting married on dates that are very unpopular. So that doesn't feel like nearly as much of a sacrifice to me because of what you said.
That's nice.
That the dates aren't popular, so it's not like I'm going to actually book those dates anyway.
That's nice.
So,
what if it required travel?
Oh, if it required travel, that's almost like definite. You have to pay me.
Yeah, for sure. I'm asking for my own personal reasons.
I just... That's like just a huge sacrifice to ask from someone who literally does this for a living. Because now you're taking multiple dates from them too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a huge sacrifice, right? Man, this is an interesting topic to me. And it's hard too because sometimes clients like become friends.
Yeah.
And I've been in the situation where I've become such good friends with them that when it came around, I was like, well, fuck, if we were this close when this started, I maybe wouldn't have really charged you. And so now what? Oh man, I'm like getting sweaty thinking about this because it's like the part of my business I feel like I don't do great. What would you tell me?
But at the same time, you know, I don't know your friends that you're talking about specifically, but like I would hope that because you've done such a great favor for them that they would like literally be constantly going out of their way to try to get you business.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, cool.
Yeah.
Great. Then that's like a business decision too.
Yeah. Man, so interesting.
I think the bottom line is that it's always situational, and you can't
Yeah.
just have a complete set rule for yourself, because rules are meant to be broken, and there's every situation is different, and you're going to have times where it would be really like beneficial for you to do the wedding at whatever cost, or to do that type of work at whatever cost. But you also don't want to create an expectation within your family, within your friends, that there's like a discount for your family and friends, or that
Right.
everyone gets this unique rate that only exists for them. Or, you know, we all have lots of friends and family, you know, so
Yeah.
like, and acquaintances who also
Yeah.
think that they're
Yes.
best friends.
Yes.
So like, it's just, you have to be really careful.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah. Man, this is so interesting because like in a single month, I failed in May, but continuing on to only take 8 shooting days a month. Like, so that's no more than like 2 shoots a week for me. So if I fill 3 up in a month with people that I'm like, don't pay me, then I'm like, that's like almost half the income I needed for that month gone. So, maybe then the friend shoots are good to reserve for like those months where you have slower months and it's your idea to do a personal shoot.
Yeah.
So you can like include them in those types of things. So it's not taking away from your work. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea.
For sure.
Well, okay, what can we leave the listeners with when you're deciding to do work with friends? What are some top things to consider? Let's wrap this up for them.
Have you explained how much work it actually takes? Did they understand like exactly what they're asking you to do?
I really like that.
I think that's really important for them to understand.
Yeah. Give them a picture of what the job looks like.
Give them a picture of what the job looks like, and then relate it to what their job is.
Ask yourself and ask them, would they do their job for free for you?
Right. Will you benefit from this in any way?
Yes. Will you benefit? Bigger picture.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Will you feel resentful? Really look at this. Would you feel resentful? And if you're in the wedding industry specifically, is this a relationship where you feel like you would be there anyways? And if so, would you rather be working it or enjoying it?
Great question.
Ask yourself that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Question I need to get better at asking myself.
Cool. And just like
Do they respect you?
Do they respect you?
Do they respect you?
That's a great question to ask about your friends.
Really great question, especially if they're asking you to do stuff for free. Do they respect you?
Right, and kind of like what I was saying, like I never even considered asking any of my friends to do work for
I
a
wouldn't
discount.
either, but
I
for
would
some
never do
reason
that.
when it's flipped, I feel like I have to. Like I even said this to Gabe. I asked Gabe to do my anniversary photos. Did not think twice about paying him whatever it cost. Whereas if he asked me to do photos of him, I like would not let him pay me. Which now, because we said this, if you ever do, I will.
I would never ask you to do it for
But no,
free, though.
I would like be like, no, just you don't even have to pay me. I would feel so weird about it. I'd be like, no, you don't even have to. But now,
And I would shut that down.
accountability check. If you ever want me to do photos for you, I will charge you.
Good.
But I just wanted to end with this note too, that I shot a wedding for a wedding photographer friend of mine last summer. And at the start of our working together, I was like, oh my gosh, you're a friend. You don't really have to pay me. I feel so weird about that. You know, I was trying to get her out of paying me, but like from the start. And she wouldn't have it, which is really cool of her.
Yeah, incredible of her.
Incredible of her. And actually, when the wedding came around, it was in August, and that was my only wedding for like 3 months because of COVID. At the time we booked that, it was right in the middle of like a very busy 4 months, so it didn't matter. Like that one wedding wasn't financially a big deal, so it seemed low,
Right.
you know, like low pressure or low. It didn't feel very risky because I was like, whatever, I have so much work those few months, I'll just do it. But she is a photographer herself and insisted that she paid me, so she did. And when the wedding came around, I was so thankful because I didn't have any other work. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, if she didn't pay me, I wouldn't. It was in the Grand Canyon. I was like, I wouldn't have even been able to afford to get there, you know, because it was like middle of COVID barrenness, you know, like it was rough. And so that was pretty eye-opening to me too, that like, okay, yeah, in the best of times, stuff like that is okay.
Yeah.
But I feel like we were taught in 2020, we do have to prepare for the worst of times. And I was really grateful she didn't let me do that. So anyways,
Yes.
I don't know if this was helpful. We just wanted to give you some stuff to think about. There's no right way to do this. You have to decide what feels right to you, what makes you feel the most respected and least resentful at the end of it. This is a fun job, and it is fun to work for friends, but maybe you'd rather be a guest. So do that. I don't know.
And don't let people take advantage of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so good at that. Okay, hope that was helpful.
Woo!
Woo! I'm sweaty talking about that. I feel convicted. I'm like sweating.